I hope I don't misquote this, but I believe it's Brian Tracy who says that sales is this transference of enthusiasm. And I was going to ask you to elaborate a bit more on what role does enthusiasm play in being successful in sales?
Oh, huge. I think it's really interesting how you get excited. I mean, you're like, okay, it's a really cool jacket. But it's not just the jacket, it's telling the story of what you get to do in the jacket or what your customer or, the family gets to do. And I'm going to use a tent, they're going to go car camping. They're so excited. It's more about the experiences that you get to have with a product and that we even get to share the experience. Everybody from the brand to myself as a rep to the store staff gets to go try it, to the consumer and it's the stories that come back from the product of what they got to have that experience in. So that's where you get so excited about it and the places you can go. I guess I quoted Dr. Seuss, but
We get to bring a lot of quotes on this show. It's very interesting because I've had some guests who came in to speak a lot about the power of storytelling in sales as well. And I think you're right. A term that would be used possibly in online marketing is also future pacing, which is like imagining yourself with the product and the stories you could place yourself in as you go and sell it. But what I find fascinating about the role in sales that you play is like you need to enthusiastically, quote unquote, infect the people at the store. So they're just as excited as you to be able to sell the products that come through the door so that it ends up in a success for the B2C, the consumer who walks into that store and actually buys it. They don't usually get to talk to the sales rep from the brands that come and sales to the businesses. They speak to the store staff and all of the people there. And it's like your job is to almost be a sales manager to all of these floor reps, which don't actually work for you, but to inspire them and get them moving products that actually supports sales numbers for the store, sales numbers for the brands. And then you getting reorders and bigger orders because everything moved well in the whole supply chain. And I want to elaborate that because I think for most people, they either have kind of two sides of imagining sales, which is like I'm directly selling to the consumer or I'm selling to big corporate clients or businesses for like employee workshops. And I think here you're talking about an ecosystem. And again, when we first started having conversations, we realized there's such a big ecosystem at play that most people aren't exposed about, but the principles of sales are so beautifully in action. And this is what I loved with the conversations we've had. And, all the industry peers were part of the training we did together, and I could see how they looked up to the way that you operate in business. And, the way you explain it is so beautiful because it's all about enthusiasm. But I also want to talk about the other side, which is when rejection happens. So like, what does a negative sales outcome look like in your role? And how do you manage that quote unquote lost opportunity?
There's a few different ways that a negative can happen. Number one, you sell it in and you never communicate again. You just, okay, it's shipped, the product shipped, it's going to sell. And you don't communicate. You're not in, on both ends of it, even like the brand, you communicate, is it selling in? Yes, it goes in. You communicate to the dealer, it lands, nothing. No crickets. You don't hear. How'd it go? How's your sell through? What can we do for you? That's one way and if it happens season after season, then unfortunately, as an independent rep, I'm not doing my job and I'm not respected in the industry as someone who's going to really take a care for the customer. The other way is trying to sell a store the wrong product. If you don't know what that store does. I'm just going to use an example. If you're trying to sell what I know, rock climbing shoes to a store that sells skis, you're not looking into their community. What do they sell? You don't know. I think you said early, you don't know your customer. And so that's not really being effective in what you're doing. You really need to take the time to find the community, look into the community, and make sure that you're selling the right product to that customer. Even when I sell a lot of, clothing. There's many times I will be standing and showing it and say, I can't show you this. I won't show you this. And they're like, well, why? And I show it to them and they're like, you were right. You just need to make sure you can read and have that relationship with your customer.
Well, I wanted to imagine in a scenario where you have had that negative mismatch of product, right? Because I'm sure it happens where you'll get a buyer who will order a ton of stock, maybe put in a big order, and then you realize that there is a mismatch with the sales volume that you would expect this product, and so now it's like you've made the sale, but what you end up with a dissatisfied customer stuck with inventory. So how do you navigate that whenever it happens?
That's a good one. And it does happen for sure. What we try to do is we work with our brand and we ask our sales manager and say, can we do a swap? Can we switch something out? Their dollars are tied up into inventory that they can't move. What we're going to be as a better partner is if we can swap the product out. Can we give them a larger discount so they can move it faster and put it on sale? So we are really always looking to be solution-oriented partner in that. Anything that comes in, we want to make sure they have the sell-through. We don't want to come back in and see it there a year later. That's not benefit to anybody. So we really try to continue to find solutions all the way through, this season. And again, that I keep saying the, ecosystem is we all need to work together to have that. If it happens year after year, then unfortunately we might lose that customer. And that's not us being solution-oriented sales reps and partners.
Yeah, it's what I actually really enjoy when you start talking about, sales that involve not just transactional sales, but relationship sales, where you have long-term perspective. There's just a lot more investment into the account management that actually returns clients, has reorders, and then actually builds an asset for your sales business. Because I know there's a lot of hype in the industry about doing like high-ticket sales, which is very transactional. And high-ticket sales from a consumer point of view, we're talking coaching programs or events. And it seems for the reps is just like you're either on the phone or doing webinars, making that one sale and moving to the next. But there's actually a very different energy that you need to have, and even a different personality type that allows somebody to be successful and call it relationship, business, long-term sales. What would be some of those qualities you think are most important for somebody in this type of sales industry?
It's again, we go back to the care of the customer, and you've said it again, making sure you're selling the right product. What I've really found, I've been in the industry 20 plus years, and I'm still talking to some of the same dealers and retailers that I sold to 20 plus years ago. And it's just making sure you're looking out for them, making sure you're following up, all those, not over-promising. You want to make sure that you're giving back what they need for their business. There's many times that it's going to be a high and it's going to be a low, and just really being the advocate for them to your brand, that they will come back, that they're, we've had a lot of change, that the owner who used to be in the back, they're now selling. There's just been so many changes, and we need to continue to be the advocate for the retailer. And also there's certain times that I definitely have to be the advocate for the brand and say, you said you would do this, you promised us something. We really need to have that come through. And it's just understanding that we need to work together year after year, and you have to come back with being truthful and authentic and stand behind your word.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.